Hey everyone, Norm from Testa here at Star Wars Celebration, and Tom Spina's here as well.
Hi, Norm.
It's been so long.
Oh, it has been so long. It's got to be almost 3 years. And 3 years in today's time is like 10 years in normal time.
Yeah,
So
yes,
I'm
yes.
so happy to see you and everybody here right now.
A long time ago in our galaxy.
Yeah, that's right,
Yes.
right here.
Yes. Well, you and Regal Robot are bringing some really cool stuff to
Thank you.
Celebration that I wanted to
Yeah.
share with the world, because you guys have some great access to the archives, the original maquettes and prototypes. Tell me about what you guys have on
We're
offer.
so freaking lucky here. I mean, you know, I've lived this great charmed life where I've gone through restoring original props, making stuff for commercials, sculpting creatures, like all the things little 5-year-old Tom ever could have wanted to do in his entire life. And now we get to take all of that and bring it out to folks through Regal, which is my company doing all of this stuff. And I hope the folks out there already know who I am, but yeah, I mean, this year we're set up here at Star Wars Celebration. We're actually giving the first look at the archive collection. And what that is just kind of continuing and expanding the work we were doing, creating really, really crazy authentic replicas that have lineage to them. You know, and for us, lineage is just so important on these things. You know, we can do our sculpt of something, but if we can get, with modern technology, access to original props and safely recreate them. You know, it used to be you were stuck, you could only mold something. But maybe the character has hair, or maybe there's fabric, or maybe it's too fragile to mold, or it's just too important of an artifact that you wouldn't want to put rubber on it. Well, now, high-res 3D scanning, you can capture every detail of a piece and then use that to recreate it, hand paint them, put all the love and care that we would do into all of our US-made products, and give people something that is a little piece of those archives for their home.
Well, what I also love is that you guys are picking artifacts that maybe are lesser known,
Yes.
but they're just as important and just have as much artistry.
Thank
you know,
you.
when you did the Taun Taun maquette from Tippet, right, Phil Tippett's collection, right? That's an iconic character. Yes, there was a stop-mo puppet,
Right.
but the process of getting to that puppet in the filmmaking, they had to make the maquette. There had to be the original sketches.
These are artifacts of the production. You know, to me, the making of the movie is as important as the movie itself. And to have a means to help tell that story on your shelf, you know, it's great that people do character statues and things like that. And there's plenty of Darth Vader and Boba Fett and Mando out there, and that's fantastic. I love it. I have some of it. But if I'm gonna make something, I wanna make sure we're making something really unique, and we're gonna dig as deep as we can to get that stuff that maybe people just didn't even know they need. You know, there's often times where we're making stuff where we almost have to tell the story for folks. Like, you know, well, what is that? Why does that look different? You know, how come Max Rebo looks a little different here? And what are those red balls? And, you know, what's happening here?
Yeah. So
So
let's take a few things off the shelf here and talk about
Want to
that
start
process.
with Max since he's, well,
We're going to have something with Max soon. But maybe like the Taun Taun.
Well, I'll tell you what, these guys are a good start.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking about Phil's Taun Taun. This is prior to the one we did. This was the previous iteration. And what's really cool here is there's a vintage photo that shows 4 of these classic little maquettes that Phil did experimenting with what the head might look like. And if you look really closely, it's a different face on this side and that side.
Yes.
And Phil was trying to do stuff where he could sculpt it 2 different ways and show George 2 different looks without making a whole other sculpture. And it was a really neat thing to go through the archives. And, you know, first we find this guy, and then we look and we're like, oh, we've got the white kind of goat looking one. We found him. And then we started looking deeper and we found this guy. And it took us a little while, but we found that one too. And as soon as we had all 4, and we knew we could recreate that photo, it was like, I have to do this as a set. These are gonna be a great complement to the piece we already have. And so all those folks who have it now are gonna have a side piece that'll really enhance that and tell even more of the backstory of the Taun Taun.
Tell me about the scanning process and the technology that you guys are using.
Yeah, so
to get that digital model.
It's a high-res scan. You've seen them in action, but for folks who haven't, you're basically painting with light. You know, you're either laser or light, depending on the type of piece it is, and you're just going over little by little. And as you do it, it's the coolest thing in the world. As you get it going, you start to see the piece recreate itself on the screen in front of you. and it tells you what's missing, and you go in and you go under and you go over and under again. And it's just the coolest process in the world. And on some of the small stuff, it goes pretty quick. On some of the big stuff, you can really get a workout just moving this thing around it.
And like Bib Fortuna, perfect example where there's mixed material in the original sculpt. So you're getting the geometry, but in your recreation of it, you also have to communicate that it was mixed media.
So in a case like this, we've got something where, exactly, he had some fabric and things like this, and we've got to make a call. Are we going to make fabric on this, or are we going to do something where we can recreate the look of the fabric with all the aging and everything and capture the textures and wrinkles so that every wrinkle is perfect on every one? And that's the way we went on this. I figure it's the best way to ensure that every one of these is the closest possible match to what's in the archives. And this is one of my favorite sculpts.
That's great. Oh my goodness.
So he is just so different from the final, you know, like the basic anatomy is there, but he's got this great elephant man kind of look to him. He's very elongated. It's so much character. It's a small sculpt, but they got so much energy and emphasis out of that, the big wide mouth and all of that stuff. And he's just, it's a really fun piece. He'll actually be the next one out in the series after Max.
So you guys do the digital scan. You have geometry. You have some photo reference for color, for everything else to match that.
Pantone references, color matches. Sometimes we'll bring in swatches of fabric and thing, like with the Tuscan Raider. And from there, you output in the highest resolution you possibly can through a resin printer. That then gets mold mastered so that you can start to make your production molds. Then those get paint mastered so that you can match the original as closely as possible and have that reference so that when you go to do the production on these, which for us is not being sent overseas somewhere,
It's
not going to a nameless factory.
New York,
It's going in the hands of the same people that restore the original props a lot of times. And so it goes through from there, they're hand painting all of these things, and then it's hand packed in a box and hand shipped to someone that, you know, hopefully gives it a loving home.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And when you go through the archives, are you selecting things ahead of time? Are you spending?
That's a good question. Usually we're getting things I want to have on my shelf. But we talk with them ahead of time. You know, we've been there luckily for you know, over a decade. I've been going there, whether it's for work or otherwise. Yeah, I'm, like I said, the luckiest kid in the universe. But we have a sense of what's there, and if we're looking for something we don't know if it's there, we send that ahead of time. Maybe some vintage photos. Have you ever seen this? Do you know where this went? And you know, that's the first step. If they locate everything we want, then we get down there. They put stuff aside for us, and sometimes while you're there, you go like, "Oh, I didn't know you had this too. That goes great with this. We should look at that." And it's just an amazing, amazing thing to be able to do. I can't even really, like, it's hard to get your head around that this is happening as a Star Wars fan.
To make an ask out of these archivists to say, do you have this? I saw in this one behind the scenes photo on the desk of a sculptor.
Exactly.
And pull that out.
I mean, that's almost exactly the conversation we've had about some of this stuff, where it's like we send them a photo where there's just a blurry thing in the background, and you're like, that blurry thing, do you have that? Can we look at it? Can we scan that?
Wow. And then also not just maquettes, but also full-size busts, and display pieces, costuming.
It's amazing what we are able to get our hands on there. And you know, with us, we're doing decor pieces, we're doing the concept maquettes, we're doing one-to-one busts, we're doing prop replicas now with the gaffy sticks, where, you know, sometimes the other form of lineage is maybe we made something for one of the shows. So in the case of the gaffy sticks, we're doing a gaffy stick from The Mandalorian that we made the Chitokia end for the show. Well, we have those molds. Why not give fans a chance to get their copy of it? You know, for the A New Hope gaffy stick, we scan the original in the archives. We're doing a metal steel end. For the Taun Taun bust, we do the one-to-one. For, I guess it was technically the second season of Mando, they were going to introduce Boba in Jabba's palace. Well, in Jabba's palace, behind, on either side of Han Carbonite, there is a Taun Taun and a Jerba head. They had us build those for the show, and we haven't been able to talk about it until just now because they never really get seen clearly in the show. But but just this weekend, they had a display of all the props on the shows downstairs, and they have the Taun Taun and the Durba there.
And it's there.
So now we're able to tell folks, hey, if you're getting our Taun Taun, it's the same molds, it's the same people making it, it's the same fur, it's the same hands on this thing that made it for Book of Boba and Mando, and you're getting that. And it's just cool to be able to do that for folks.
And
man.
that's why the trust and the relationship you've built with them, that's what makes you and the team at Regal Robot the best people to do it, because you're doing the restoration, you're doing the stuff for production, and you have this experience and relationship with the archives.
It's really incredible to me that that we're able to share it this way, and it means so much to me.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Tom. I know you have a ton of other stuff here.
So much.
People can always buy stuff online.
They can always go regalrobot.com and find us. We're at Regal Robot on all the great social media platforms.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, so great to see you.
Thank you, you too. I'll see you soon.